Going to get into today? Well, today we are going to make a sweet potato liqueur. So sweet potato liqueur, what is that? Well, it's going to have the taste of sweet potatoes with a hint of brown sugar, just a hint of sweetness, not too much, and some spices. And what I'm hoping for is a earthy tasting, and like I said before, it's just a slight sweetness. It ought to be fantastic. All right, so it should be very easy to make. The only ingredients we have is sweet potatoes, a little bit of grain, and if I need to boost my numbers up, I'm gonna boost it up with some brown sugar, but the sweetening will come later after we ferment and all that good stuff. Okay, so what do we got to do first? Well, this video series is going to be done in 3 parts. It's going to be, of course, this is the mash, right? And then we will do the distillation and oaking, and then the third video will be finishing, okay? But first things first, welcome to Stillworks and Brewing. My name is Randy, and this is a channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. Okay, so I got 15 pounds of sweet potatoes here. I got a little bit of water starting to warm up, and I've already washed all my sweet potatoes to get any kind of dirt off them. I want to make sure I leave the skins on, and I will trim these little ugly ends off just because you don't have to, but I'm just going to. So we're going to cut these up, dice them up, and then what we'll do is we will boil them in a pot to soften them up, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so let me start slicing these up. Like I said, I got some water starting to boil over here. I wanted to heat in here. It's a little chilly this morning. And you just want to dice these up, slice them, whatever you want to do. And we're just going to throw them in the pot. Now the neat thing about sweet potatoes is you can actually, they have enzymes in them already if you wanted to. Me particularly this time, what I'm going to do is use the high temperature enzymes, and then I got the little bit of grain will help convert all them starches. It's just what's going to be easier for me. It's a lot of cutting. Best I do not to cut my fingers off, right? But to me, and the thing is about sweet potatoes, if you look at the PPG, points per gallon, is they got a rating of 37 points per gallon. So there is a lot of potential sugar inside these sweet potatoes. So that's just a good thing. But we're just going to boil them to soften them up. Like I said. Now I just ran across, there ain't many people to make this. There is a guy, a distillery in California that has a sweet potato farm, and he makes this liqueur, and it just sounded interesting to me. Now what else he makes is a sweet potato vodka. And would anybody be interested in me making, I was thinking about making some sweet potato vodka also, not today, but because one reason why is I'm almost out of vodka and I haven't done a vodka in a while. So would people be interested, let me know. Right now, sweet potatoes are all over the place. You go to the grocery store, there's big bins of sweet potatoes, and the prices ain't too awful bad. I think I paid, I think it was 69 cents a pound, you know, for these, which I didn't think was too bad. Probably if you went to like a farmer's market, you might get a better price. All right, so let me get these cut up and then I'll be back. Okay, so the next step is I got all my sweet potatoes in a pot with some water. I'm gonna boil them till they're soft, and then we'll get ready to mash them will be the next step. Okay, so let's let that go on, and then we'll be back for that. Okay, the sweet potatoes, they're all soft. I turned the heat off. So what do we do next? Now we want to mash them. And I'm gonna just use, hopefully, a regular, I'm gonna start with a potato masher, then I think I'm gonna move over to a, it's just a paint stirrer. I think that'll help chew everything up and get it all mashed up. Actually, I might just use this. Oh yeah. Just mash these up, and then I'm gonna get ready to stir them up. Let me go and get my drill out. Sorry about the noise already. That's actually working very well. Okay. That worked very well. What we want to do next, okay, so now we're going to need to check our temperature of our sweet potato soup. All right, and it is 201, 203, somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay, which is a little bit too warm for our high temperature enzyme. This works best between 150 and 190 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to let that cool down for a little while. I could stir in just a little bit of cool water. No, well, I'm going to let that cool down for a little while. I'm going to go ahead and have a cup of coffee, and then we'll get ready to add this, and then we'll move on to the next step. I do have 2 pounds of 2-row barley that I'm going to add in once it cools down to about 156 or in that neighborhood. Okay, so I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so I checked my temperature of my sweet potatoes. It's at 187, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my high temperature alpha amylase. Okay, and the instructions calls for 2 teaspoons per 5 gallons. So I got about 5 gallons of it in there. So I'll be able to put 2 teaspoons, right? 1, 2. All right, 2 teaspoons in there. And I will start, give it a stir. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover that up, and then I'm gonna come back in a little while, and when it gets down to about 158 should do it. The magic number is 153, but once I add this little bit of grain in, it will drop it some. So, well, really it's only 2 pounds. So I might go 156. once it gets down to about 156, that should drop it down to the right amount. So the high temperature alpha amylase enzyme and the malted barley, that should convert all them starches of them sweet potatoes into sugars. All right. So let's let that happen, and then we'll be back. This has really been easy to work with so far. We don't have too awful much to go. A little bit of time and wait. So we'll be back and we'll check my temperature. There we go. And we are looking at ooh, 149. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a real little bit of heat under it and bring it up to 153. So let me go ahead and stir my grain in. Yeah, I just let it cool down just a little bit too much. Just 2 pounds of malted barley. And I'll just put a little bit of fire on it, and I'm gonna bring it up to 153. And then I'll shut the heat off. And I'll just keep a stir on it. I shut the heat off. Now I'm gonna just take a blanket and cover it up and let it. I'm gonna set my timer for an hour and a half. I got some stuff I gotta get done. I'm gonna do that and then I'll be back. All right, it's time to take the cover off. And what we'll do, oh, it's getting thin. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, I've had stars, oh, you can't see me. So I've had star sand in my fermentation bucket here. So I will get rid of that. And what I'm going to do it's getting heavy. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put my sweet potato stuff here into my fermenter. Yeehaw. All right. So, got my sweet potato stuff in there. Now, what I want to do is I want to add warm water into this to get it up to about 10 gallons worth of in this container. So let me get that done, and we're going to be ready to almost be finished up, okay? Okay, I did add to the 10 gallon mark of warm cold water, and it should be just right at 90 degrees. Ooh, it's a little bit warm. I might have to let it's 104. I could add just a little bit of cold water, or I could just let it wait a little while, then I'll add my yeast, which that's what I'll probably do. Okay, so let me... I did add 8 pounds of brown sugar to get up to numbers I wanted. Let's double check. $1.085. I'm gonna live that. That is good for me. 1.085. All right. So what's next? The next thing, it's got to cool down about 10 degrees before I add the yeast. So what I'll do is I'll start sanding the lid and put it in my fermentation room. And after a while, a couple hours, it'll cool down some. And then I'll add the yeast, and then we'll ferment 7 to 10 days, and it should be done. Okay, so let me get things moved. Okay, to give you a recap of what we did today, we are making our sweet potato liqueur. So first thing we did is we took 15 pounds of sweet potatoes, we washed them, cut them up, put them in a pot with some water. We boiled until they were cooked, and once it got soft, we mashed them. And then what we did is once it got to 190 degrees, we added in high temperature enzyme. And what we did then is we gave it some time, and then we added, once it got down to 153, we actually went down a little bit below, but we had to boost it back up. But at 153, we added in our 2 pounds of barley malt, our 2-row barley. And then we covered it up and let it sit for an hour and 15 minutes, I think it was. All right. So then what we did after that, we filled our fermentation vessel up to 10 gallons. I did have to add 8 pounds of brown sugar to get up to the numbers I wanted, and I ended up with 1.085. And that is a fantastic number there. So that's what I had to do. Because there's going to be a lot of sediment in this. That's why I'm using that fermenter. It should work out where I get 8 gallons of good mash to put in the still. Well, anyway, so what we did then is we filled it up to 10 gallon mark, and then we put it in our fermentation room. It's still a little bit warm to add in the yeast. It was like at 100 degrees. I want to get it below 90. So what we'll do is we'll bring it back, or I'll come back out later on this evening, and once it's below 90, I'll add in the second part of the high temperature enzyme, the glucose, and then put in the yeast, and we'll let it ferment 7 to 10 days. All right. This ought to be a very delicious sipping thing. I'm gonna do this in 3 videos, so I hope you enjoy. I think that's about it. All right, so I guess the last thing I got to say is, hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time here on Stillworks and Brewing. Cheers, everybody.